3 days after Friday night's quake, relief workers are battling to cope in the aftermath. The hospital in amidst caring for Moroccans injured in the earthquake is now a tent pitched on asphalt under a blazing sun and has only around a dozen beds. When one bed becomes free, it is immediately filled again as the flow of victims from the disaster keeps on coming from villages at the foot of the Atlas Mountains. Patients are now being cared for under the large grey tent because of fears that the hospital building may be vulnerable to aftershocks. Does Morocco have what it needs to cope with its earthquake disaster? People in Morocco are rallying together after a catastrophic earthquake struck their country. The number of dead and injured runs into the thousands. Entire villages have been flattened, thousands of buildings toppled, and whole communities left homeless. The country faces a huge rebuilding challenge, but the immediate most urgent task is reaching people cut off by the disaster. Does it have the resources it needs? Death toll reaches 2,862. The number of people killed in Morocco's deadly earthquake has reached 2,862, according to the Health Ministry. Another 2,562 people were injured, state TV reported. Morocco wants IMF World Bank meetings to proceed despite quake losses. The Moroccan government intends to proceed with International Monetary Fund World Bank annual meetings scheduled for October in Marrakesh despite Friday's devastating earthquake. Two sources familiar with the meeting planning have said, from the viewpoint of the Moroccan authorities, the annual meetings of the IMF and World Bank will take place as scheduled, October 9 to 15, 2023. There is no change of plan as of now. One of the people, a source close to the Moroccan government, told the Reuters news agency. At least 100,000 children were affected by the Morocco earthquake. Initial reports indicate that approximately 100,000 children have been impacted by the powerful earthquake that struck Morocco late on Friday night, the strongest seismic event to hit the kingdom since 1960. Like all major earthquakes, aftershocks are likely to continue in the days and weeks ahead, putting children and families at further risk. The United Nations estimates that more than 300,000 people have been affected in Marrakesh and the high Atlas Mountains. While UNICEF doesn't yet know the exact number of children killed and injured, the latest estimates from 2022 indicate that children represent almost a third of the population in Morocco. Children affected by the quake start the long journey toward recovery. Scared by the tremor, Hicham had run away from his family's home and found them later outside. Mohammed, 12, told Al Jazeera that his uncle and 3 cousins had died in the earthquake. One of their other friends, Farid, had been hit in the head by some rocks and a falling television during the quake. Yet somehow the boys were content to be outdoors and spending time together, happy to have each other. Spokesperson defends government efforts and response. In a televised statement on Sunday, government spokesperson Mustafa Baitas defended the government's response, saying every effort was being made on the ground. The army said it was reinforcing search and rescue teams, providing drinking water, and distributing food, tents, and blankets. King Mohammed VI has not addressed the nation since the disaster. Prime Minister Aziz Akanouch told local media the government would compensate victims, but gave few details. Morocco has accepted offers of aid from Spain and Britain, which both sent search and rescue specialists with sniffer dogs from the United Arab Emirates and Qatar, which said on Sunday a search and rescue team was on its way. Search and rescue response grows as the military sets up field hospitals. After an initial response that was described as too slow by some survivors, search and rescue efforts have sped up, with tent camps appearing in some locations where people were preparing for a 4th night outdoors. A video filmed by a Moroccan outlet, 2M, showed a military helicopter flying over an area close to the epicenter, dropping sacks of essential supplies to isolated families. With much of the quake zone in hard-to-reach areas, the authorities have not estimated the number of people missing. Roads blocked or obstructed by rocks that tumbled down the steep slopes during the quake have made it harder to access the worst-hit locations. Heavy machinery has been brought in to clear roads only for subsequent rockfalls to block them again. What caused the rare deadly earthquake in Morocco? The magnitude 6.8 earthquake that hit Morocco last week was a rare occurrence. It was the deadliest the country has experienced in more than 60 years. At least 2,681 people were killed and more than 2,501 injured. Earthquakes are commonly caused along the seam where 2 tectonic plates move against each other, and in Morocco, earthquakes mostly happen where the Africa and Eurasia plates meet. But that boundary is to the north, near Gibraltar, so tremors are usually closer to Tangiers than Marrakesh. Yet this one was in Al-Haz province in the high Atlas Mountains, 75 kilometers, 47 miles, southwest of Marrakesh, the country's fourth largest city. An Algerian outpouring of support for Moroccans after the earthquake. An outpouring of online and real-world support has pushed historical tensions between Algeria and Morocco aside as government and civil society offered to join global solidarity efforts after the earthquake that hit the neighboring kingdom late on Friday night. The countries have had political differences for decades over several issues, most notably Western Sahara, where Algeria has supported an independence movement while Morocco has been trying to claim sovereignty over the region. On Saturday, the Algerian presidency expressed its readiness to help and opened its airspace to relief planes heading for Morocco after 2 years of refusing passage for Moroccan flights. How to support Morocco's earthquake victims. The world is watching human tragedy unfold in Morocco after the magnitude 6.8 earthquake that struck the country on Friday killed at least 2,497 people and injured around 2,476. As heroic rescue missions continue around the clock, sometimes with people digging through rubble with their bare hands in towns and villages that are virtually demolished, there are organizations collecting donations to accelerate life-saving efforts. Morocco's mud brick housing makes the hunt for earthquake survivors harder. Rescuers digging through the rubble after Morocco's deadly earthquake have warned that the traditional mud brick, stone, and rough wood housing ubiquitous in the high Atlas Mountains reduce the chances of finding survivors. It's difficult to pull people out alive because most of the walls and ceilings turned to earthen rubble when they fell, burying whoever was inside without leaving air spaces. A military rescue worker, asking not to be named because of army rules against speaking to media, said at an army center south of the historic city of Marrakesh, not far from the quake epicenter. The traditional homes, sometimes hundreds of years old, sometimes built more recently, have long been a popular site for tourists traveling to the mountain from Marrakesh. They're often built by the families themselves to a traditional pattern, without any architect's help and with extensions added when they can. As if a bomb went off, small villages leveled to the ground by the quake. This sounds quiche, but it looks like a bomb has gone off and that doesn't even do it justice, reported Simon Speakman-Caudle as he stood on top of a home that was destroyed by the quake. In addition to the magnitude of the destruction, the region's mountainous terrain and weak infrastructure make it difficult for rescue teams and aid to reach the victims. Access is a problem everywhere. Small roads not used to traffic now have to sustain diggers, army trucks, and aid deliveries, said Caudle. Traffic jams run for miles as ambulance crews edge along narrow mountain roads. The devastation here is absolute, he added. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel if you like this video so you may see more interesting and practical ones like it. We appreciate your interest and hope to see you on the next one.